Hi my dear people, today we will talk about Erdogan. So I would ask Cenk this, a very simple question. Is Erdogan a war criminal? It's a very simple question, really. So, let's talk about Erdogan. The ICC lost its credibility back in 2011 if we compare the situation to the wars following the breakup of Yugoslavia, when 161 indictments were issued against individuals from all ethnic groups. With the war in Syria, where there were 4 times as many casualties, yet not a single indictment was filed. Well, what can you say about this? Anyone with a bit of common sense who follows these conflicts and wars knows that Erdogan played a massive role in the Syrian war. And not just in Syria, we could also mention Libya and Iraq. We also know that people in Turkey have been imprisoned and some have disappeared simply for being alleged supporters of Gulen. They were locked up without any trial whatsoever. The same applies to those suspected of supporting the PKK. But because Turkey is a NATO member, there will never be any indictments against Erdogan. There won't be any outcry from Amnesty International, nor any global protests. Let's look at the reality. 150,000 casualties after the breakup of Yugoslavia resulted in 161 indictments, whereas 700,000 casualties in Syria resulted in 0 indictments. Does that seem normal to you? Do you consider the ICC to be credible international court? It's a fact the Turkish military has been present in Syria since the very beginning of the war there. Recall, for instance, when a Turkish F-16 shot down a Russian Sukhoi.
It was violating Turkish airspace before ordering its F-16s to shoot down the Russian aircraft. President Obama putting his full support behind the NATO ally.
Turkey, like every country, has a right to defend its territory and its airspace.
The U.S. calculates the Russians may have been inside Turkey for less than 30 seconds. Less clear is exactly where the border may be.
The incident happened, at the border. That much I can tell you. But beyond that, we're still trying to collect and sift through all the data.
The Russian plane took off from the Syrian airfield at Latakia, heading north. The U.S. monitoring the entire time using radars and radios.
We were able to hear everything that was going on. Obviously, these are on open channels.
As the plane went down, video posted on social media shows Turkish-supported rebels shooting at the 2 Russian pilots. Heavy fire from the ground, rebels calling for the pilot's capture. A Russian helicopter searching for the second pilot also apparently under attack and crashing. A Russian Marine killed on the failed rescue mission. CNN could not independently confirm the video. Russian President Vladimir Putin called the shootdown a stab in the back.
In any case, neither our pilots nor our jet posed any threat to the Turkish Republic.
We all know that Turkey supported ISIS and al-Nusra. All the mercenaries who went to fight for ISIS passed through Turkey, because there was also training for the war, combat training, before they moved to Syria. People from Bosnia who lost family members and friends, individuals who were brainwashed into fighting for ISIS. Some people from Bosnia can confirm this.
Da on sprema nešto tako. I to je kasnije kad smo vidjeli na televiziji da puca po ambasadi. Šokirali se tu. Znam da je to ko svaki rat, gore pakla, razumiješ. Čuo sam se s Burazom, njemu to sve smiješno. Raketa padne, ofenzive, Najviše stradaju nevini, a najmanje je onaj ko je odgovoran. Ne smijem ni razmišljati o tom. A što se tiče vjerske strane, to zatvoreno skroz. Strancima je totalno nepovjerljivi su prema strancima, bilo kome. Uguste oni, kogo dođe on uguste ljude, ali ono sa nekom distancom rezervom. Pridržavaju se tog nekog šerijeta, svi. Tu žene su sve pokrivene, djeca sva uče te arapski fazoni, to. Stara se snašla, stara mi super bio, stari bio ugledan građanin tog mjesta. A mene su uvijek ono nekako s nekom rezervom i nismo shvaćali ozbiljno.
Indeed, this led to mass arrests in Bosnia.
Bosnić, vehabijski vođa i propovjednik vehabizma iz Bužima, uhapšen je jutros u svojoj obiteljskoj kući. Bosnić je osumnjičen da je organizirao i finansirao odlazak više BiH državljana na ratišta u Siriju i Irak. Osim Bosnića, uhapšen je i Mirza Kapić iz Zenice.
A similar scene unfolded in another town, about 100 kilometers away. These attacks were the result of Turkish airstrikes on October 9th, 2019, when Turkey's invasion of northern Syria began.
The long-planned Turkish military operation in northeast Syria has been launched.
Turkey pushing ever deeper into Syria.
At least 160,000 civilians are believed to have fled the fighting in the border area.
Over the next several days, the Turkish military moved further into Syria and attacked several other towns. All of these attacks are concentrated here, on this strip of land in northeast Syria. It's part of an area that Turkey has been wanting to turn into a so-called safe zone for years.
Ve orada bir güvenli bölge oluşturulması.
Suriye'de bir güvenli bölge oluşturulması.
Hedef burada bir terörden arındırılmış güvenli bölgedir.
So what is this safe zone, and what purpose does it really serve for Turkey? Syria descended into armed conflict in 2011. Protests broke out against the country's authoritarian government in major cities. When the government turned its attention to the uprisings and violently cracked down, it left a power vacuum in the north. That's where the jihadist militant group ISIS swept in starting in 2013. Significant portions of this region, which was home to Syria's largest ethnic minority group called the Kurds, were eventually conquered by ISIS. But Kurdish militias successfully fought back. So the US backed them with air support and on-the-ground training against ISIS. In 2015, Kurdish and non-Kurdish militias in the region banded together to form the Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, and started pushing ISIS back. This paved the way for the expansion of a Kurdish-led territory which was already being established here.
ISIS was defeated, as were al-Nusra and the opposition in northern Syria. The Kurds controlled northern Syria because they had won the war against ISIS and al-Nusra. Naturally, this greatly displeased Erdogan, so in 2019 he intensified his attacks on the Kurds under the pretext of needing a buffer zone. Yet, throughout the time ISIS controlled northern Syria, there was no talk of a buffer zone.
Border in Turkey, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has long viewed the rise of the Kurds in Syria as a threat. That's because a Kurdish separatist group in Turkey called the PKK has fought the Turkish government for decades. The PKK has pushed for greater autonomy for Kurds living in Turkey, but the Turkish government has rejected their autonomy and fought back. The violent conflict between the two has left tens of thousands dead. Erdogan claims the PKK is aligned with Kurdish forces in Syria, and he sees their growing influence across the border as a risk. A Kurdish-governed territory in Syria could inspire Kurds in Turkey to import the same model back home.
Türkiye olarak biz sınırlarımızda böyle bir gayrimeşru oluşumun
asla yani türbünden izleyicisi olmayacağız.
Erdogan has launched attacks on Kurds in Syria multiple times. The first came in 2016 when Turkish troops attacked here in the northwest to push back ISIS and block Kurdish expansion along the border. And in 2018, they attacked Syria again, this time in an attempt to wipe out the SDF. Turkey gained control over these areas, but by this time, it was facing problems within its border strip of Syria. He took this plan to Russia and the US, but he couldn't get them on board. With political pressure mounting at home, Erdogan and his government threatened to move into Syria on their own.
Arzumuz bir an önce bu güvenli bölge konusunda bir mutabakata varıp uygulamaya geçmek. Aksi takdirde biz Türkiye olarak gereğini kendimiz yapacağız.
But there was an obstacle in their way. The US, an ally to Turkey and a military supporter of the Kurds, still had troops stationed in northern Syria, so Turkey couldn't make its move. In August 2019, Turkey made some progress with the US. The two agreed to a safe zone that they would patrol together. This zone would extend 5 kilometers into northern Syria. The SDF cooperated by withdrawing some of their forces. But this agreement wasn't enough for Erdogan. At the UN a month later, he proposed a much larger zone.
We intend to establish a peace corridor with a depth of 30 kilometers and the length of 480 kilometers in Syria and enable the settlement of 2 million Syrians there.
Soon after this address, Turkey found a way into Syria. After a phone call with Erdogan, President Donald Trump ordered the withdrawal of US troops from northern Syria.
It's now time to bring our soldiers home.
I don't want to leave troops there. It's very dangerous for. We never agreed to protect the Kurds for the rest of their lives.
Trump broke the US alliance with the Kurds and pulled troops from along the border. Erdogan finally seized his opportunity and sent troops into northeastern Syria. Turkey's invasion has been brutal and destabilizing.
What's happening in Syria can only be described as chaos.
Kurdish hospitals have been overwhelmed.
Thousands are still on the move, trying to escape this violence.
Families desperate to get out of here.
Turkey is sending in Arab militias that would displace the Kurds from their homes.
As the SDF defends itself against Turkish forces, they're leaving ISIS prisons unguarded. And according to Kurdish sources, hundreds have already escaped. The US withdrawal and Turkey's invasion have created a new power vacuum in northern Syria, one that's quickly being filled.
As the US leaves, another force roars in.
The Kurds have made a deal with Syria's president.
Turkey's president and Russian President Vladimir Putin making a deal about the future of Syria.
Withdrawal of US troops is leading to more change than the area has seen in years.
But Hurshit Güneş, a member of Turkey's opposition, claims his government has allowed ISIS to flourish because it prefers the group militants' lucrative oil smuggling business on Turkey's border.
That money could be stopped. The money they get from smuggling could be stopped if the Turkish government and the neighbor countries had decided that they shouldn't get a coin.
A Turkish government official told us that 6,000 people are now banned from Turkey.
Thus, Erdogan is a war criminal and a dictator. Pure and simple. So Cenk, is Erdogan a war criminal? You motherfucker. Thank you very much. Shalom Aleichem. Goodbye.